Hello, and welcome back to the Switch Show. Except if you're new here, then welcome. I recently started saying this that it is my absolute pleasure to bring you an episode every other week or every other Tuesday, more or less every Tuesday, except when I have to disappear for a while. But yeah, it is my pleasure to bring you an episode every Tuesday. And if you stick around for about half hour or so, hopefully right about that time, yeah, then we can have an interesting conversation. I like to think of, um, I want to, or recently I've been starting to think of the podcast as more of a conversation, like a very long voice note. You know, we, I mean, if someone sends me a 30-minute voice note, I'm not going to listen to it. Let me be honest. But there are some voice notes, for example, if it's someone I like to hear from, like one of my close friends or one of my closest friends, one of my best friends, and they send me a series of voice notes, let's say 6-minute VNs, 5 times, that's 30 minutes. Most likely will listen to it. Might listen to it on like 2x speed because, Nigerians are not naturally fast talkers. So we pick our words one by one. So if you listen on 2x speed, it's not really going to be that insane. Anyway, the point of that segue was to say that I want to look at this more as a conversation where you listening to me now, you're on the other end, and you, I don't know, a conversation is meant to be two ways, but this is me airing out all my thoughts, my opinions, and everything, and then you get to respond either through a text, either through a comment, an email, or something, a rebuttal. Do you understand what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much the idea I want to have going forward. Speaking of going forward, we are almost at 100 episodes. It has taken me a long time to get here. A lot of inconsistencies in the first 3 years. A lot of inconsistencies, very inconsistent schedules. I decided to be posting on Tuesdays, I think about a year ago. Like, it should be like over a year now. And I decided to start posting on Tuesdays. And so, yeah, we have come a long way. Some spells of consistency have helped to bring us to this point where we're almost at 100 episodes. And this is just a heads up. After the 100th episode, I'm going to take an extended break. The reason is because in this point or in this season of my life, there are quite a number of things that are happening. Quite a number of things that are happening inward, and finding ways to communicate my thoughts on any subject matter. Say it is theology or something philosophical, something psychological, finding a way to communicate that is not, it's not easy, to say the least. It's not something that hmm, it's not something that I can necessarily push through. I can, but it's not something I want to push through. It's something I want to work out. It's something I want to learn from. Because there's only so much a person can give. The person has to refuel. I think all those spells of absences, when I would just disappear, go absent without leave, all those spells, they were good for a moment, just refuel a bit and get going again. After an extended period of time, I have committed myself to other things outside of the podcast that haven't served me well, and I haven't served well. So in order for me to give 100 to the podcast and to other aspects of my life, I need to take a step back. It's going to be an extended, really long break. The last time I took a break like this was during my inconsistent years, and I'll post an episode in January, and the next time you see me will be in July, something like that. But yeah, the 100th episode, which is going to be public, which is going to go live sometime this year, 2025. Yeah. After that goes live, I'm just going to back off posting. Additionally, the hope is that when we come back, there's going to be, because I've been thinking a lot about video podcasting or vodcasting. I don't know how that will go. I mean, I'm a fan of it. I like watching video podcasts. I think more than listen to audio podcasts. I think I watch more videos than I listen to audios. Part of me wants to cut down my screen time. So I don't know. Maybe that part of me that wants to cut down screen time might prevail, and I'll just stick to audios and just make reels explaining a topic or explaining my thoughts. Reels that are like a call to action, or I don't know if you understand. Yeah, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about that, because the journey ahead, I still think that I have a couple, maybe I think I have another 100 episodes in me, at least. I have another 100 episodes in me. So for me to crank out another 100, I need to take a step back. I say this to myself, that sometimes you have to take a step back to take 2 steps forward. So yes, I need to take a step back to take 2 steps forward. Yeah, this is totally unrelated to the discourse we're having today. We're talking about the subject of trust, and I think unintentionally, my flow of thoughts has really been about self-evaluation, more like an introspective angle to the podcast. There've been a lot of introspective episodes, if I will say. If hold on. Sorry. Okay. And there have been a lot of introspective episodes. I think back to Friendship and Its Bridges. After Friendship and Its Bridges, what was the next one? Oh my goodness, I can't remember it now. Then there was, hold on. Okay, there was More Than You Can Handle. There was Audience of One. There was The Illusion of Comfort. There was Strings Attached. There was Identity. There was The Arson of Friendships. Unintentionally, I think so. One of the ways my process has been working recently, or from like this episode is the 98th episode that I'm recording. So I think as far back as maybe when the Salvation series, when I was in the series on salvation, yeah, I from then on, it became this thing because I changed how I made my cover art for IG and everything. Whenever I saw a picture on Pinterest, because I get my pictures from Pinterest, I go to Pinterest, I see a photo I want to use for a design cover art. When I see that picture, the topic actually comes. So it became more of a free flowing thing. I don't necessarily plan in the sense of brainstorming topic ideas. No. Scrolling on Pinterest. I go to Pinterest, I have a board for designs, future designs I might want to make, or future designs I would want a picture or an image that I would want someone to use for a future design. And I started using those pictures. Those pictures inadvertently became an inspiration. And when I was putting the pieces together from around the friendship, from around when I talked about friendship and its bridges, I found out that a lot of the episodes have been introspective, talking about you, me. Not necessarily a selfish thing, more of an evaluation thing. Evaluate your motives, evaluate your principles, your ideas, the ideologies that you've held on to for as long as you've been alive. Why do you hold on to these things? Why do you act the way you do? Why do you respond in the way you do? And everything more or less has been from my point of view, from my world experience, my world view, also through the lens of scriptures, the Bible, and yeah, my opinions basically. So I like to say that you take it with a grain of salt or with a plate of rice, whatever fits your diet. More anyway, I wanted to say more or less. That was not the expression. Anyway, today's conversation is about trust. Today's conversation is about trust. I think trust is important, but or I think trust is important, yes. At the same time, I think trust is ironic. Okay. And we'll, what do I mean by the irony of trust? Okay, so irony is first time I came across the word irony was in literature, figures of speech. So irony is a literary device, used in, you know, speaking. Not really speaking, but it's used in expression of words. So irony, the definition of an irony is the use of words to express something other than and especially the opposite of the literal meaning. It's that's in its literary form. In its literary form. I think the definition I was looking for, not really, not really the okay, let me give an example. I'm just going up and down. So the example here is what a beautiful view, he said, his voice dripping with irony as he looked out the window at the alley. This that sentence indicates that him saying what a beautiful view, of course, it wasn't a beautiful view because it was ironic. And it is in that context, or it is in that sense, that I think that trust is ironic. And people talk about trust so much. It is I think love and trust are one of the most talked about things. You don't talk about love. I've talked about friendships, and in between I've talked about familial love. That's love that exists between parents and their children, or between family members. All right. So trust is a pillar of relationships, a backbone of partnerships, and a fixture in our society. Before transactions are made, before partnerships form, before wedding vows are exchanged, trust, trust has to have formed. This inevitable preamble of our lives has built kingdoms and destroyed empires with its 5 letter monosyllabic grasp. All these calisthenics points me to one question. What is trust? The Merriam-Webster's dictionary defines trust as an assured reliance on the character, ability, strength, or truth of someone or something. Now, with that, I ask, how can you be sure? Because it says assured reliance, not just reliance. There's a reliance and there's assured reliance. For example, if you grew up in Nigeria, you rely on the power holding company to restore electricity or to bring light in our local parlance. You depend on them for electricity or you rely on them for electricity. That is not an assured reliance because we don't trust them. We know how they are, we know what they are. They can disappoint you at any moment. So you guys stay cheesed up. You guys stay guarded. So what is assured reliance? Assured reliance is like committing. I think of trust as a relinquishing of control. And I don't think many people think of it like that. I think to the Bible verse, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him and he will make your path straight. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. People sing the song, people pray it in prayers. Oh Lord, I will trust in you. When you don't do this, when you don't do that, I will trust in you. Not to sound like a broken record or not to be that guy, but what really is trust? What really is the trust? Trust is about relinquishing control in that context. Because for you to say you trust God, God, if you don't move the mountains, if you don't give me the luxuries of life, if you don't do this and do this and do A, B, C, D, X, Y, Z, I will trust you. It's relinquishing control. It's giving up your control. At least I think so. Let's think about it. Just walk with me for a second. You are applying for a visa. You're applying for a visa, and somewhere in the mix, there's some documents. Not essential. They are not essential that if you don't have them and you travel out of the country, it could get you fined, arrested, or deported. They are not. There are some things that they say they are not important, but they are necessary. Just itty bitty things that could determine whether you travel out or whether you don't travel out. And then in all these things, someone is telling you, this you have to have these documents. Like, how will I get it? I need this visa as soon as possible. This document is going to elongate my application for the visa. It's going to extend the whole process. Since it's not important, I think I can make do without it. And then the report comes back or the result comes back, visa denied. And then you say these words, Lord, I don't know what is going on. I don't know what is happening, but I choose to trust you. Choosing to trust means you're giving up control. Because you're saying, to God now, you're saying, I don't have control over this situation and I want to give it to you. I want to rely on you. And this reliance is not one that wavers. You have a track record. So I'm relying on you because I have an assurance that you're going to come through. So it's giving up control to God. That is in a spiritual context, and that is me trying to, what's the word? Explain. I was looking for a bigger word. That's me trying to explain the trust in the Lord with all your heart. That is just me. So what does that look like in a natural context, human to human? It's still the same thing, if I'm being honest. It's still the same thing. In my in all of my writings, I said that it is a pillar of relationships, it's a backbone of partnerships. Some of the great partnerships that led to empires and multi-million dollar giant companies were built on the backbone of trust. So trust is relinquishing control. I I think that's how I would surmise it. It's relinquishing control. Because think about this. I am the brains, you're the finances. I know how to run the schematics and analytics. You know how to drop the numbers on the money's end. And then I say, okay, handle the money, I'll handle the analytics. I trust you. I'm giving up control. I'm saying I'm not going to be peeking over your shoulders, constantly obsessing and finagling with every little movement and thing or decision that you choose to make. I want to trust you. I'm not going to put a spy to watch over your every move. I'm not going to bug your phone. I'm going to leave you because I know you make the right choice. How do you know? You actually don't. You really don't. Because the same Bible that says, trust in the Lord with all your heart, is the same Bible that says, the heart of man is desperately wicked and evil. Who can know it? So the same heart we trust the Lord with is the same heart that the Bible says is evil, is deceitful, that who can know it? It is that same Bible that says only a man knows the intent of his heart, and only the spirit of a man knows his intent or knows his spirit. I'm paraphrasing, which is wrong, but I think you understand my point. So when, as a guy, you meet a girl and get talking, and maybe she's seeing some movement of the opposite sex around you, and she's like, I'm not comfortable, blah 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 blah. And then, like, dangling carrot in front of your rabbit, it just comes out. Wah! You need to trust me. Why? Why do I need to trust you? I I'm very particular about words. So why is it a need? Why is it a need? Why do I need to trust you? Because I think wants are insatiable. You can want today and not want tomorrow. But needs are kind of, in my opinion, and I want to phrase this properly, needs are an essential of living. So many times you don't want to trust a person. You don't want to trust a system. You don't want to trust. Sometimes you need to trust it. You need to hope. So trust is like hope. And in hope, faith, some part of you relinquishes control. That's not to say that you don't do anything on your own end. I gave the analogy of a partnership. You're running the analytics side or the code if it's a tech startup. That's a better example I can give. If it's a tech startup, You're running the program, the code, you're operating the back end, the front end, the middle end, all ends. And you're like, I'm not good with money. You handle the money. You're doing your own part, but you've left the money side to someone else. So someone else is in control of that. And now I'm abusing the control and relinquish so much, but I just want to drive my point. All right. So the next thing, how can I be trustworthy? If you ask me that question, honestly, I don't know. Honest to God, I don't know. Because I don't think you can be trustworthy enough to the wrong person. This all sounds like I'm not trying to give relationship advice. This is a general advice. You cannot be trustworthy enough. You can never be trustworthy enough. So your trustworthiness is a reflection of the choices of people and the choices you make as well. Think about it like this. If you choose to be honest, open, humble, transparent, you choose to lay out your cards. I mean, you're not playing poker, so you lay out all your cards face up. You not tell it as it is in a harsh way, but tell it as it is, which is basically transparency. You When people say open book, it can be misconstrued. When I say open book in this context, I mean transparent, basically it all goes back to transparency. And then people choose to give you control of things or make you responsible over things, maybe money, maybe people like kids or other people, and you handle yourself with grace, with poise. If someone wants to recommend you, it's like, I don't know that person, and the person who is recommending you says, oh, no, I know him, I trust him. It is because of the choices you've made and the choices they've made. Because trust is a choice. I said something, when I was giving the example about God, and a statement that we often use, I choose to trust you, Lord. You can choose not to trust God. It's a choice. As love is a choice, trusting is a choice as well. So you can choose to be worthy. You can choose to become worthy of people's. Now, this just sounds like a word salad. You can choose to become worthy of people's time, because many times trust is trusting with their time, trusting with their emotions, trusting with their resources. Resources basically covers everything. There's time, emotions, money, family. It could be anything, really. It could be anything. So trusting with their resources, with all of themselves. So how do you become that person? I'll keep it a buck. I don't know. Because I've, I won't say I've cracked the code or I know how to become trustworthy. I've made mistakes in my own life that have made people say, I will never trust you again. And I've done things that have made people say, oh, I trust you. I can trust you with my life. I'm like, trust God with your life, oh, please. Yeah. Anyway, which leads me to my final thing, and I want to just wrap up briefly with this. And it's trust, head versus heart. What does the trust in your head or your heart? And it is with this or by this, or not with or by. Those are not the right words. Okay, what I'm trying to say is trust is not done with the head many times. It's done with the heart. People who say they are logical, I mean, trust is both logical and emotional. People who say they are logical and choose to trust someone trust because of a pattern, as people would often say, a track record. When they see exhibits or exhibitions of truancy, of tyranny, of irresponsibility, if somebody chooses to trust you after the I mean, we want to give people shots at redemption. And to what I was saying, based on a track record, is one of the reasons why you see movies where someone, I think it happens in real life too. I've never experienced it or had anybody close to me experience it. But you see someone who is an ex-convict, wants the person wants to find a job, and they're asking the person, "Oh, what were you serving time for?" And the person says, "Oh, it was felony, or I was involved in a robbery." You were involved in a robbery and you're bringing your CV to a bank. As how now? It- the logical thing is, we cannot do this. So you say, I'm saved, I'm blood washed, I found Jesus. That's good for you, brother. You can robbery and you want to work in bank. As how? Or what were you serving time for? I was serving time for assault, blah 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 blah. And you're doing a hyper emotional job. Like, how? That's the logical side of trust. You have to see an observable pattern that you can cling to. There has to be an observable pattern. That's the reason why maybe you trust your faves. If somebody comes online and tells you a load of crap, you could trust every word that comes out of their mouth, because there's a pattern of the things they say that maybe have affected your life in one way or another, whether positively or negatively. If they say, I don't recommend products that I don't personally use, they are recommending a coffee maker or a blender or a toothbrush or toothpaste or investment scheme. They've recommended so many things, and those things didn't cost you money. They actually made your life better. So, fine. They're recommending something else. I might as well hop on it. I have the resources, I can afford to. I might as well do it. That's the logical side. The illogical side, which is the emotional side, is, take the ex-convict example again. You see this person, there's no way this person will be employed, and you look at the person and say, "I will give you a chance. I will give you a chance." He may be going against everything that is logical, but you're giving the person a chance. I'm not recommending anything. Like I said, these are my opinions. I'm not a professional anything as of now. I'm not a professional psychiatrist or relationship counselor or mm-mm. This is just the opinions and the experiences, me sharing my opinions, experiences, my thoughts. And again, take with a pinch of salt, with a plate of rice, whatever fits your diet. So I say love, trust is a fusion of both logical and illogical choices. Take the guy was who was involved with the world. He was a serial fornicator and stuff. Finds Jesus. It comes to God. He has been in Christ for a few years. Sees a girl who has been in Jesus all her life, and they start talking. Say, "Oh, what about your past?" And he starts listing All the bodies. He starts listing all of them. What do you think? The girl say, ha, I'm not Hosea. God did not send me. God did not make me a demonstrative prophet. I should say, brother, God bless you. And you hear things like, don't judge by their past. Don't judge by their past. The past matters. We live in a world that keeps score. We live in, whether we like it or not, we live in a world that keeps score. So the past really matters. And it can affect how whether someone trusts you or not. So like I said, at the end of the day, you really can't choose who trusts you. All you can attempt to do your due diligence in hopes that you're a person worthy of other people's trust. Thank you for tuning into this episode. Countdown to episode 100. Yeah, subscribe. You know, all the do the due diligence, share and everything. And thank you for coming as long as you've come. Like I said, I think I have 100 more episodes in me at least, and I think I'll keep doing this either till Jesus comes or till I retire from it, until God gives me an express instruction to, pivot or something. But till then, I'm Maliseh Chinonye. I'm still the host of the Switch Show. Still want you to go into every dark room, flip that switch and illuminate. 'Cause you're the light of the world. Peace. God bless.